So, there's this viral video making a really bold claim. It's arguing that a recent memo from Bill Gates has just completely turned the entire climate change debate on its head. In this explainer, we're going to walk through the video's argument step by step to really understand the case it's trying to make.
And they don't waste any time. The video kicks off with this exact, explosive statement. Right away, it sets the stage for a story about a massive, fundamental shift in how we're supposed to talk about climate change. So a claim that big, where does it even come from? Well, according to the video, this whole thing, their entire argument, it all hinges on one single document. This is what they present as the catalyst for everything.
And here it is. The video points specifically to this 17-page memo, which it says was published by Bill Gates on October 28, 2025. This document is presented as the smoking gun, the core piece of evidence for the entire narrative they're building.
The title of the memo is 3 Tough Truths About Climate. And according to the video, that title alone is a huge signal. They interpret it as a dramatic reversal, a complete 180 from Gates's long-held public stance on the urgency of climate change. So what are these tough truths? Well, the video boils it down to these 3 key takeaways. First, that Gates is supposedly admitting climate change is not going to end humanity. Second, that people will pretty much live and thrive in most places. And third, that the whole doomsday outlook, well, in the video's own words, is total BS. And to really drive the point home, the video zeroes in on this one specific quote. They use this as proof of a radical shift in priorities for Gates, moving away from a strict focus on temperature rise and toward tackling more immediate problems, like malaria. Okay, so a memo, a quote, but why is this such a massive deal, according to the video's creator? Let's get into the significance they're attaching to this supposed change of heart. The way the video tells it, you've essentially got 2 different Bill Gateses. There's the old Bill Gates, who they frame as the face of climate alarmism, the guy who was pushing for wild ideas like dimming the sun. And then there's the new Bill Gates, who they argue is now focused on preventing suffering and is willing to make trade-offs on climate to do it. And the video doesn't stop there. It even has a theory about why this shift is happening right now, and it all comes down to the AI revolution. The argument is that big tech's massive need for power, for real, reliable fossil fuel energy, has suddenly made the climate crisis a lot less convenient for them. So you take all that, and it leads the video to a pretty stunning conclusion about where Bill Gates now stands on all this. They basically recast him as this unlikely champion for a totally different way of thinking about climate. The video's claim is simple. Bill Gates is now saying the exact same things that, in their words, capitalist conservatives have been saying all along. They're painting this as a huge ideological shift, a major realignment. So what is that argument exactly? Well, the video lays it out as this simple 3-step path. First, you prioritize things like health and prosperity. That, in turn, creates economic growth. And finally, that economic growth itself is positioned as the best possible defense against the impacts of climate change. And to put a number on it, the video points to research it says is from the University of Chicago. The claim is that when you actually account for future economic growth, the number of deaths from climate change drops by more than 50%. From here, the video really broadens its scope. It uses the Gates memo as a kind of launch pad to make an even bigger case, one that questions some of the most basic ideas we hear about CO2 and a warming planet. For example, they show this geological timeline to argue that, hey, by historical standards, our current CO2 levels are actually super low. They say that before the industrial age, we were, quote, perilously close to the plant death line, and that the modern increase in CO2 has actually fueled a global greening event. Then they bring up another point, citing studies from The Lancet. The videos claim the cold weather kills 9 times more people than heat. The implication being, maybe a slightly warmer world isn't the disaster we think it is. And it just keeps coming. The video then throws out a bunch of other stats it says are the benefits that have come along with rising CO2. A 98% drop in climate-related deaths since the 1920s, a big jump in global leaf area, longer growing seasons, and even better drought resistance. And all of this, it's all building to the video's most dramatic claim yet, that by using fossil fuels and raising CO2 levels, we might have actually stopped the next ice age and, get this, literally saved life on Earth. Alright, so for its grand finale, the video makes a huge declaration about the fallout from all this. It basically says the whole climate crusade is done. It's over. According to the video, this memo has sent the mainstream media into a total panic. They claim that outlets like The Guardian and The New York Times are scrambling, trying to do damage control and spin the story, trying to downplay just how big of a deal this is. And here's the real kicker for them, the political consequence. Their big claim is that with Gates' supposed change of heart, the so-called climate industrial complex just lost its #1 most powerful advocate. And they follow that right up with another knockout punch of a statement, framing this whole thing not just as a policy shift, but as total vindication, basically saying, the conspiracy theorists were right. So this table really sums up the video's final verdict. They're saying the dam has broken on the mainstream climate story, that the grift is over when it comes to green policies, and that politically, this gives Republicans all the ammunition they need to fight things like climate taxes and regulations.
So, the video's whole point is that the game has completely changed, that the debate has been totally reset. But after walking through their entire argument, the real question isn't just what happens now, it's whether their entire case, built on this one memo, actually holds up in the first place.